No matter how much things change, they stay the same. And when it matters most for Houston, we show up in their gym and boat race them. Doesn't matter who's on the roster. And last night was very anticlimactic, but ultimately, as a Warriors fan, you can't complain, right? I guess to be a little fair to this young Rockets team, maybe it didn't matter if they showed up last night the way Klay showed up in the first quarter of that game, right? And it's kind of an under-discussed version of Klay, right? We've got China Klay, headband Klay, all these different versions. Houston Klay is a real thing. I don't know what it is about that gym, but in that first quarter, it was really clear as he got to chirping and looking at their bench after every shot, just letting them know, like, hey, y'all gonna need a bigger boat tonight, right? Strategically, without Şengün in the lineup, you know, this Rockets team, it's kind of been publicized like, hey, are they better out without Alpi and what he does, running him as a hub? And I do think that it's an interesting conversation because with Şengün, like, listen, without Jokic, he never gets the opportunity that he's getting in Houston. They're never putting the ball in his hands and giving him that opportunity. But because there's a blueprint, he's gotten that opportunity. And yes, the floor is space. Jalen Green has exploded since he's got that mature clam at home, right? Is that inappropriate? No, he moving different, right? But the Warriors' game plan was like, all right, we're just going to show two at the ball screens with Fred and Jalen, and we're going to make somebody else beat us. And without Şengün in that short role and being a big hub, they struggled. They did. As you guys can see, I'm dealing with a zoo here. I've got my big dog, Jordan, on the bed, who's lazy and big, a cat who's very rambunctious, and now a new puppy, Charlie. And I'm here home alone, working from home, and it's just it's a lot. Let's see if I can finish this video with Charlie here in my lap. They broke a vase in the living room. Where were we at? Şengün, the opportunity, they were missing another playmaker, right? And so forcing Jalen Green into being a passer, right? It really stifled their offense. But let's be honest. I think that getting smacked around by Minnesota and Dallas before this game, it looked like their spirits were kind of dampened. I don't know how much belief this Rockets team had last night coming into this game. And you heard Ime kind of talk about it post-game. To me, he was directly talking to Jalen Green. Because you're not talking about Fred or Dylan, who have been in plenty of bigger games than this, right? And so that leaves it leaves the three youngsters, Jabari, Amen, and Jalen. Amen, not an offense. You're not expecting him to take a bunch of shots. Jabari actually played well in that pick and pop game. And it was Jalen Green who, the game plan was to take him away, but he wasn't aggressive when he had opportunities. And the thing that I've noticed about Jalen is, yes, he's seeing the game better. He's making better decisions, taking better shots, but his footwork is still very inefficient. And it's part of his athleticism, right? That, all right, let me put this guy down here. This isn't working for me. He wants to get down. And particularly on his step back, he crosses his legs and then he double step backs. And all it does ultimately is allow more time for a lot of the time for the defender to recover. And it's just harder to stay on balance. Rather than just punching off one foot and taking the shot, he punches, crosses his legs and punches again. And I don't know how he gets rid of that. To me, it's a sign of being a drill baby. And what I mean by that is my daughter's one, where it's like you've done so many drills in an open gym without live defense. You have you have muscle memory that isn't necessarily functional to, real basketball. All right, hopefully he doesn't dookie on the floor in here. But let's talk about Trayce Jackson-Davis. Career high 20 points. And it really was opened up, I think, by Klay's hot shooting. At a certain point, they had to sell out on Klay, right? And to his credit, he was moving the ball. And The other aspect, though, I think beyond the 20 points, because it was easy, right? It was a lot of easy stuff. They kind of rolled over late in this game. Again, not as much fight as I was expecting. But I also think that the more important thing is the defense. And you've heard about this new defensive rating where Draymond and Trace front court, what is it, a 96 defensive rating? And part of it is having a rim protector behind Draymond, someone bigger, I think has allowed Draymond not only just to roam, but just to be more aggressive out on the perimeter overall. That's an easy concept in basketball, right? When you have a rim protector, it allows your perimeter defense to be more aggressive, understanding they have someone to help them on the back end of things, right? So there's that. But I also think a huge part of it is Trace's mobility and his mobility to get up and down at this crazy pace that most teams want to play at, where half the centers in the league, they just get run off the floor, right? Like if you look at Phoenix or New Orleans don't get me wrong, there are these athletic centers, but they're stars, right? But for the most part, it's like a give or a take with these teams. Oh, you want a big rim protector in there? Well, they're going to get run up and down the floor. And Trace not only protects the rim, but you can't really run him up and down the floor. And so I think that it has absolutely changed the dynamic of this team. You only would have hoped maybe that they would have figured this out earlier in the season. So you get a chicken soup win against the Rockets. Very unexpected. I was on my Patreon yesterday. I was like, I think we're going to lose this one. I thought we were going to have a hard time matching the desperate intensity of this young Rockets team, and they just didn't have that mentality, right? Dillon Brooks, you didn't hear a peep out of Dillon Brooks. It was almost as if he knew. He had poked the bear before and had learned his lesson and was like, yo, I ain't even going to say none of these guys. I'm going to say none of these guys, right? But now they head into this game against Dallas where, did you see Steph was kind of holding at his hip last night? I'm sure it's nothing major, but I'm curious. I wouldn't be shocked if they punted on this game tonight with the vets. I guess the other storyline is Kuminga continues to miss games. Is he going to play tonight? They're slow rolling us this tendonitis thing. Someone had asked me, how serious can this be? Tendonitis isn't serious in the sense of it's something that all hoopers deal with. Bouncier athletes tend to have more of it, guys that like to jump and leap, right? And what it is you've just got to be proactive with it, meaning your warm-up has to be more intensive and your recovery has to be focused on that. So that's not a big deal. The big deal would be as if they're misdiagnosing it, because that happens as well. A lot of NBA teams, when someone's dealing with knee soreness, they just kind of generalize it as tendonitis. And then you find out that, I don't even want to go there with Kuminga, right? But if it's tendonitis, then it's just tendonitis. And it's not surprising, especially the way he plays. So is he going to play tonight in Dallas? How does that change things? Let me give you my underdog picks. You can use the code Alchemy and get up to $100 bonus on your first deposit. I'm winning. Win with me, rock with me, help the channel. I have 2 picks for you right now for this game today. Draymond, I'm going to have him higher than a half a three. I'm having him to hit a 3. And if Kuminga is playing, I think it pushes him out to the perimeter a little bit more when Kuminga runs those inverted screens with Steph, right? And so I think he may have to take a couple more than he, usually does. And then I got a weird one for you. How about lower than Luka with a block? I like that one. So those are 2 picks. Feel free to just take one if you like them or add them to your bigger pick, pack. But it does help the channel. But yeah, I don't know about this one tonight. You imagine it's going to be really tough to on the back end go into Dallas and get them after we just got them the other night, right? But Houston's out of the way. Now we can set our sights on that 8th seed, which would allow us 2 opportunities to actually get into the playoffs, right? And I think it's very feasible when you look at the Kings schedule. Either way, and I've said this before, I think we're all in agreement here. We want to avoid the Lakers. I know pride and the rivalry. Some of y'all are going to say, no, we won't. No, work smarter, not harder. Let's try to avoid them in the play-in on our way into a playoff matchup. But it sounds like Trace is here to stay as the starting center. It certainly unlocks Draymond. I also think that part of it is the desperateness of the team. Just like we said, they're winning without Kuminga. Well, part of it is they're desperate and they're playing harder as a collective, regardless of Kuminga in the lineup, right? And I think part of the defensive rating, Trace does help, but part of it is the urgency team-wide as well. But yeah, man, even though it was anticlimactic last night, we needed one of those, right? There's been too many clutch games for this team this year. And maybe how easily it came in Houston will actually give us a shot tonight in Dallas. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.